Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons in their Week 8 matchup played November 1st, 2015. We're going to go over all the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So these two NFC South rivals going at it. In the first quarter, Matt Bryant hit a 21-yard field goal with about 8 minutes left still in the first, with the first points on the scoreboard, and it was 3-0 Falcons over the Buccaneers. Then with 2 minutes still left in the first, Barth hit a 38-yard field goal, and it was tied up at 3 apiece. So that would do it for the first quarter. Then in the second, Barth hit a 23-yard field goal with about 3.5 minutes left before halftime to make it 6-3 as the Bucks took the lead for the first time in this game. Then with about a half a minute left before halftime, Jameis Winston hit Cameron Brate for a 20-yard touchdown. Barth added the extra point, and it was 13-3 as the Bucks went into the locker rooms at halftime up by 10. Then in the third, with about 6 minutes still left in the third, Jameis Winston runs it in himself for a 4-yard touchdown. Barth adds the extra point, and it was 20-3 as the Buccaneers scored 20 straight points after being down 3-0 to take a 17-point lead. But then, in the closing seconds of the third, Matt Ryan hit Jacob Tamme for a 7-yard touchdown. Bryant added the extra point, and it was now a 10-point game with the Bucks up 20-10. It's now in the fourth quarter. Fast forward to just 5 minutes left in this game. Matt Bryant hits a 24-yard field goal, and it's a 7-point game with the score 20-13. And then with just less than half a minute left to play, Matt Ryan finds Julio Jones for an 8-yard touchdown. Bryant kicks the extra point, and this game is tied at 20 apiece, and we are headed to overtime. So in overtime, the Bucks would get the ball first, and they march down the field. Jameis Winston coming up big on 3 third downs on this drive to get them down into field goal range before their drive stalled on the 7, and a penalty pushed them back to the 12. And so it would be a 31-yard field goal attempt by Barth. It was up and good, and now the Bucks were up 23-20. But with the rules in overtime being that they had scored just a field goal, that meant that the Falcons had a chance to tie this game up and keep it going, or if they could score a touchdown, they could win it. And so the Falcons had the ball on their own 20. Matt Ryan would hit Julio Jones for a 19-yard reception. That brought the ball to the 39. Ryan then went to Roddy White. He picked up 5, and now the ball was at the 44, 2nd and 5. Matt Ryan was then sacked by Jones, and he fumbled, but it was recovered by Freeman. And so they actually, they went to review it, but they ruled that it, was down there, that Freeman got the ball. And so 3rd and 7 at the 42, and an incomplete pass would bring up 4th down, and another incomplete pass, and this game came to a close as the Buccaneers beat the Falcons, and they hand them their first loss at home in 2015, as the Falcons are now 6-2, 3-1 at home. The Bucks now 2-2 on the road, 3-4 on the season. And some big plays in this game by Quan Alexander. He came up huge. And the Bucks, they were up by 17. They let that lead vanish. They let the Falcons take it to overtime. But Jameis Winston coming up big on those third downs on that drive that led to the field goal. And then the defense shutting the door on the Falcons as they were giving Matt Ryan and this Falcon offense all kinds of problems all day long. They forced 4 turnovers in this game. Of course, the one interception by Matt Ryan. He also fumbled the ball twice, although he did just lose one of the fumbles. Jones and Person each fumbled it as well. So it's 4 fumbles, they lost 3, and then the one interception. And Quan Alexander, he actually had an interception and a forced fumble. They said he had a pretty big game. He made a huge impact in this one. Jones as well, he had a sack and a forced fumble. But let's look at the numbers. So Jameis Winston, 16 of 29, 177 passing yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 3 carries for 24 yards and a rushing touchdown, so 2 total touchdowns for Winston. And the muscle hamster Doug Martin, 23 carries for 71 yards. And for the Falcons, Matt Ryan, 37 for 45, 397 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also had 3 carries for 2 yards. Devonta Freeman had 21 carries for 88 yards, and he had 6 receptions for 43 yards, as he had 131 yards total in this game, but he did not reach the end zone. The game's leading receiver, Julio Jones, 12 receptions, 162 yards and a touchdown. And Jacob Tamme had 10 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown as well, both for Atlanta. And for Tampa, Bright, their tight end, had 2 receptions for 48 yards and a touchdown. And Mike Evans had 3 receptions for 48 yards. Not big numbers for the offense, but their defense was really getting it done. Look at the kickers. Connor Barth was perfect on the day, 3 for 3 for the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points. Matt Bryant was perfect also, 2 for 2 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points. As I said earlier, Quan Alexander had a huge game. He made a huge impact. The interception and the forced fumble, both leading to scores and stopping those drives, as the Falcons just could not get things done, especially during that stretch there when the Bucks were just in control of this game there in the first half after letting up just that field goal. And then deep into the second half was really in the final seconds of the third quarter and then into the fourth, where the Falcons were able to tie this game up. As they ended up coming back, they scored 17 straight points to tie it up. But quite a performance by the defense, even though they relinquished that lead. But also for the Falcons, Allen had a sack, and Schofield had a sack as well. As I said already earlier, Jones had a sack for Tampa, and Alexander with that interception, the forced fumble. Jones also had a forced fumble. Look at the first downs, 28 for Atlanta, 21 for Tampa Bay. And on third downs, the Falcons 6 of 12, 50% conversion rate, and the Buccaneers 6 of 13, 46% conversion rate. The Falcons went for it 3 times on fourth down, converted twice, 66%. And the Bucks went for it once on fourth down. They did not convert. Total net yards, 496 for the Falcons, 290 for the Buccaneers. On the ground, the Bucks had 117 net rushing yards and 101 net rushing yards for the Falcons. Through the air, the Falcons 395 netted. Ryan was sacked once for a loss of 2 yards. And for the Buccaneers, 173 passing yards netted, as Winston was sacked twice for a loss of 4 yards total. When we look at the penalties, this is what really killed the Falcons in this game. 11 penalties for 124 penalty yards, as they were very mistake-prone in this game. And the Buccaneers, 8 penalties for just 43 yards, as they were penalized only a third as much. When we look at the fumbles, 4 fumbles for the Falcons. They lost 3 of them. And in the red zone, the Falcons 2 for 5, 40% in the red zone, 1 for 3 for the Buccaneers. They're 33%. The time of possession, 39 minutes and 5 seconds for the Falcons, 30 minutes and 11 seconds for the Buccaneers, as they played just over 9 minutes in overtime. The Falcons, they made lots of mistakes, lots of penalties, and the turnovers, and give credit to the Buccaneers going on the road and playing a really strong defensive game against the Falcons, and able to give them just their second loss of the year, their first loss in Georgia. And the Buccaneers even up their road record and come away with a big win. And this one's, goes a long way too towards, showing the maturity of Jameis Winston. He's just a rookie, but for him to be able to bounce back after losing that big lead, and him to lead his team down into field goal range in overtime, converting on those third downs, was really clutch. And then for the defense to shut down Matt Ryan the way they did, he did have a lot of points. He had a lot of yards, rather. Fantasy. But anyway, he did have a lot of yards. but he wasn't able to turn it into touchdowns as they just kept making those mistakes. All those penalties and the turnovers were costly. And the Buccaneers come out with a big win, 23-20. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend. And enjoy all the sports.